So Jesus sends out his disciples on a short-term trip, okay? They come back from this labor of missionary work where they're casting out demons, they're healing the sick, and they're preaching the gospel in and amongst Israel. And Jesus says, come along with me and rest for a while. And tell me about your missionary trip. Tell me what happened. Come along and rest for a while. So they actually had...
What chapter is this in again? And what book?
So I think in Mark 6 maybe-ish,
Okay.
and then also Matthew, but it's not necessarily 11. I'm going to get to that one in just a second. We can... If we make a video clip from this, we'll have the verses on the screen.
Question.
But wait a second, you got a lot of questions, but hang on. What's happening is that Jesus is kind of combining these concepts back together again, so that their spiritual ministry throughout the villages requires them to have physical rest. That's because man is body and soul both. Jesus also says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Take my yoke upon me and learn from me. So the idea there, what would you think if you hear this? You would think, this must be talking about my physical work that requires rest. I'm so beat down by my physical labor that I've got to go to Jesus to find rest. And that's true. And this has an echo. When Jesus makes this statement, it echoes back to Lamech, Noah's father, who says, here comes one that's going to give us rest from the toil of our hands, which of course he's looking then back to the curse that was placed on creation and the struggle that was going to accompany work. Well, Jesus pulls those concepts forward and he says, yes, come to me, all you who are weary, all you who are burdened and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And the first thing in your mind goes, rest from my work, my labor, my physical. But he has a spiritual idea in there.
I know why we do that.
Why?
Because that worship was displaced, and we think that when work is not worship is just work. We just completely toss worship out of the picture.
Yes.
Which is why we automatically go to our physical work when we're asked to rest.
That's why we're having this podcast. But yes, you're right. We have separated in our minds work from worship. So what I'm saying is that Jesus, in Christ, in this Matthew chapter 11, 28 to 30, is pointing over to Hebrews 4, where he's talking about rest in Christ, what's called an eschatological rest, or an end-time rest, a final rest, a telos, the end point, rest in Christ. Mm-hmm. So there's a rest that comes in Jesus, and already not yet to this. When we trust in Jesus, by faith alone, through grace alone, in Christ alone, we receive rest from our efforts in thinking that we have to earn or work for our salvation. Mm-hmm. But there's going to become a future reality, a future rest in Christ where, yes, that present reality of resting from what we think we can do to earn our salvation when we can't at all, it's just faith alone and by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone. There's going to be a future time period where we actually do get that physical rest.
Yeah.
The garden remade.
Going back to the garden in heaven.
Yes, the new heavens and new earth. So that's, in the New Testament, you kind of get these concepts that are brought back together again. Does that make sense? You tracking on that?